Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's a great way to close out the day or close to it. So, Chad, I don't know if you know Lauren. She does a lot of cool things, a lot of cool lettering, graphic design, illustration. You can't hear me?
Hi, Shauna. Oh, am I allowed to respond to the comments live? Hi. Hi, everybody. Oh.
There we go. All right, welcome back to Adobe Live. In New York City. So, Lauren, if you want to introduce yourself to people that might not know you, although I'm sure a lot of people do, maybe through homework and those kind of things.
Oh, yeah, lots of things going on.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Internet. My name is Lauren Hom, and for those of you who aren't familiar with my work, I'm a hand lettering artist, illustrator. I'd say, yeah, that's the best description I've come up with. I always would go back and forth between illustrator, graphic designer,
Yes.
like letterer, but hand lettering is the bulk of what I do. I'm an ex-advertising art director.
Ooh.
I'll talk about this in a little bit, but kind of fell upon lettering, stumbled across lettering on accident. Well, kind of accident. It was a hobby turned full-time job.
Love that.
So I can talk a little bit about that.
Cool.
For those of you who don't know, I went to the School of Visual Arts here in New York City. So I actually went to college like a mile away from where we are now.
Nice, and you're based in New York now?
I used to be based in New York. I lived in New York for 7 years,
Right.
and then I live in Detroit now.
Oh, cool.
But I went to go travel for about a year and a half.
Nice.
And then came back to the States and decided it was time for something new. And so I travel a lot for work. I'm kind of in and out like twice a month.
Yeah, so Detroit's a good place.
Yeah, it's
to
cool.
be.
Lots
That's awesome.
of kind of cool creative stuff happening. Lots of buildings to paint if anyone wants to get into murals.
Ooh.
So I'm excited about that. But I went to the School of Visual Arts here in New York City. I was an advertising major. But senior year of college, and for those of you who followed my work for a while, you know this story is like the 80th time you heard
I'm
the story.
ready to hear it.
I'm going to tell it again. It's
Cool.
okay. It's kind of cool. If anyone is a student who's watching, definitely pay attention. This is like a real thing that happened. So senior year of college, I started a Tumblr blog. I don't know if Tumblr's still a thing, but I enjoyed Tumblr 6
good
years
thing.
ago.
Yeah.
It's weird thinking that was 6 years ago, but October 2012, I started a Tumblr blog based on a drunk joke that I had with my roommate. We were drinking one night, and it was the beginning of senior year, and we were talking about all of the things we wanted to accomplish. We were like doing a little goal setting, like drunk goal setting session.
The best kind, I guess.
And we, like halfway through the conversation, we realized we were totally full of crap. Like we weren't going to get any of it done. Like we had portfolio. For anyone who's a student or went to art school or college, portfolio year is like the most insane year. It's just so busy. And so I had this light bulb moment where I was like, oh my gosh, like that was innocent little lying. Like I do this all the time. And I wrote down a bunch of other things that I lied about. Like I had a list of like 20 or 30 in like, and I was drunk. Like I was amazed that I even wrote any of this down. And within a week, I had started a Tumblr blog. I was like, oh, like I'm gonna, design little posters that say all of these little white lies that I talk about. And so I started a blog called Daily Dishonesty, just on Tumblr. Spent $9 on the URL, and started making like hand lettered artwork. Like I'll be there in 5 minutes when you actually haven't left the house.
Yeah.
Calories don't count on the weekend. That was actually the very first one I ever did.
Right.
I'll only have one glass of wine tonight, just one bite, just all those little innocent things. And
You tell yourself.
I had taken one typography class in college, but I was an ad major, so I wasn't a design major at all. So it was a hobby. I had always doodled on the back of my notebooks. Like in high school, I was the girl who everyone asked me to write their name in like cool handwriting.
That cool handwriting girl, yep.
Yeah, so I was like
Totally.
the artsy chick in high school, and so I was using my very rudimentary lettering skills to just make these fun, colorful pieces that I would post to Tumblr for no other reason than just like, this is fun, this makes my friends laugh, this is just a collection of things.
Yeah.
And within about 2 months, the Tumblr blog had blown up.
Everyone's dream.
Yeah, it was so nuts. I used the I hashtagged it with like typography on Tumblr.
Right.
And I woke up one morning and there were like 1,000 big blogs, and I was like, whoa, people are seeing my work. This is weird. But then I kept doing it, and I started building an audience. And on my 22nd birthday, 22nd birthday.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah, so this is like a month after I started the blog. I got an email from a literary agent who was like, "Hi, my name's Catherine. I'm a literary agent in New York City. I stumbled across some of your images on Pinterest. Like someone had pinned my images for me. I didn't have a Pinterest account.
You're like, what's
and
that?
She was like, I think that there's publishing potential. And I was like, 22-year-old me was like, this is a scam. There's no way any of this is actually real. But then I got on the phone with her and we chatted, and it was real. It was a legit thing. And so over the next 6 months, she like strategized with me and worked with me to build a proposal for Daily Dishonesty as a book. She helped me build the audience. And I was just going to school full time, working like freelance on the side, and then working on Daily Dishonesty.
This was during school?
This is during school, during portfolio year. And it was also an interesting time because my advertising portfolio that I was trying to make to get a full-time job was just the complete opposite of what I was doing for this passion project. So I was kind of living these like two different creative lives. And the same week that I graduated college with my advertising diploma, I signed a book deal for Daily Dishonesty.
And this is what happens. This is what you wanted everyone to listen for.
It was so nuts, and I was like, whoa, like two awesome things just happened. I just graduated college with a creative marketing diploma, but I also just signed a book deal for my hand lettering project. Like, what do I do? It was, I guess, a good problem to have, you know, having two kind of good things happen. But because I think my logical side of my brain, even though like my heart was totally in lettering, I loved doing it. It didn't even feel like work.
Fun.
It was fun. But then the logical side of my brain was like, oh, I put in 4 years of college, paid a lot of money for school. Like, I should get an advertising job. And so I spared my parents the heart attack. And I got a full-time job right after I graduated. I just figured that the Daily Dishonesty thing was like a nice thing that happened in time, and it would just be that one singular thing, and that would be it. But as the internet has shown us, like once people see your work, or once something goes viral, or once there are eyes on you, you can't stop it from really growing. And so the cool thing about Daily Dishonesty, besides the book deal, which was awesome to me at 22 years old, was that it circulated my work around the internet. And honestly, that was more valuable than the book deal itself. I would say that having my work posted on blogs and design blogs and websites and all these places got me so much freelance work. I started getting Instagram followers. I started growing, honestly. So my school, SVA, used to send out a weekly or monthly, I forget, newsletter of student or alumni projects on Behance, because SVA has a Behance college, I think, account. And for about 5 months straight, my Daily Dishonesty project was like in the top. I think, and so it just circulated my work and got eyes on my work, and I started actually getting hired for these things that I was making. People would say like, oh, I really love that one Daily Dishonesty piece you did. Can you do this for our magazine?
Do it again.
For our ad campaign. And I was like, yeah, sure, I guess I can do that. And it wasn't even something that I had intentionally planned on. It was just this awesome byproduct of sharing my work under this one theme in this series. And I was just talking to my class about this last night, where unbeknownst to me, you know, doing a personal project is basically you're showing a creative concept, you're designing the project, you're making content under one theme. You're more or less art directing and designing an ad campaign on your own terms. And it gives you so much credibility even as a young designer, because it shows a higher level thinking than just these kind of one-off pieces you made because it's pretty or it looks nice.
Or it was an assignment at school.
And so that did wonders for my freelance career. So as I'm going into my full-time job, I'm bombarded with freelance work for lettering. I'm doing like pieces for LA Magazine, and I'm so excited. I know. And the LA Magazine thing was interesting because the design director emailed me and he was like, hey, I saw your work on a Tumblr blog that wasn't my own, actually. Someone had like reblogged it, I guess.
Of course.
And he was like, can we hire you to do the same thing for us? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm from Los Angeles, so it was like a big deal. I like told my parents, I was like, go to the grocery store, get LA Magazine, flip to this page.
Oh,
and
proud.
I think print work, I started out doing mostly editorial stuff and greeting cards when I first started freelancing. Having a tangible thing to show your family that you've done as a creative person, even if it's like a website or like a business card, is such awesome proof. It's such a good feeling to be like, look what I made. Like you can hold it in your hands or you can use it.
This didn't exist until I made it.
Exactly. So that was a cool milestone for me. And so as I was working my full-time job, definitely full-time advertising work is different than student advertising work. I logically knew this, but I started to feel a little disheartened by my full-time job.
Yeah.
You know, junior art director, working my way up the totem pole.
It's tough.
It is tough, but I definitely had that, you know, like, put in your dues, work your way up kind of mentality. But 9 months in, I was like, ooh, this is tough. And the story I like to tell is, I call it like my ravioli epiphany. And so this is a good story. And I don't share this all the time. So for those of you who may have been following me for a while, this might be new to you. So yeah, I think about 7 months into the job, we were working on a pitch. And for anyone who works in a studio or a marketing firm, pitches are like the most, like, I guess, crazy time at the office. You're there like super early or super late.
Yeah.
So we've been working on a pitch for, I want to say 3 days in a row. I was getting home at like 3 a.m. It was really rough.
And then going right back.
And then going right back. And on day 3, because I hadn't gone grocery shopping in a couple like days, I didn't have anything left in my fridge. So I opened the fridge and all I had was a pack of like ravioli that like you cooked for like 3 minutes, and then it's like kind of fresh pasta, but it's not, I don't know.
Right.
So I took it out of the fridge and I was like getting ready to boil water, and I was so tired. I was like, I don't think I can even boil water right now. And so I sat down on my kitchen floor and I ate the ravioli raw. I ate raw ravioli. It was cheese ravioli.
You didn't die.
I didn't die. And halfway, I ate the whole pack too, which was disgusting, but also impressive.
Yes.
And, halfway through the pack, I was like, oh my God, this is delicious. Like, I felt so like nourished. And then I had this epiphany where I was like, I'm 23, I'm sitting on my kitchen floor in Crown Heights, Brooklyn.
Oh no.
It's 3 a.m. I'm eating raw ravioli and I'm miserable at my job. Like, if this is how it is at 23, 7 months into the job, what's it going to be like 7 years into the job?
Yeah.
And so I kind of had this wake up moment. I guess that was like, what do people talk about? The rock bottom. It was like my rock bottom ravioli moment.
Your raw ravioli moment.
And so after that, I started making a game plan to leave the agency. And luckily, I always tell people, unbeknownst to me, I had created this kind of life raft for myself, a career life raft per se, in the form of having a passion project started a year before.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I got my design portfolio together. I started reaching out to agents. I, refreshed my LinkedIn portfolio.
Yeah, while working.
While working full-time still.
And freelancing maybe.
And still freelancing on the side.
Goodness.
And I just started getting my ducks in a row, and within a couple months, I was ready to leave the agency. I had gotten an agent, I had gotten my design portfolio together, and I was like ready. And so I just, because I had the money from the Daily Dishonesty book deal, and I had a pretty steady stream of freelance work coming in because of Daily Dishonesty still, I had the cushiest transition from full-time to freelance. And whenever anyone asks me about like how do I make the jump from full-time to freelance, my advice is always, it doesn't have to be a jump. There doesn't have to be this like river with like sharks and snakes waiting for you at the bottom and like fire.
And if you miss, you're done.
It was more like if you're unhappy at your job, you can take like little baby steps towards getting your portfolio ready, starting to like actually do client outreach to get more work, looking for an agent if you're an illustrator or a designer with like a specific style. There are lots of little things you can do to make the jump much less of a jump and much more of like a hop skip.
Yeah, just a step.
Absolutely. So I definitely like, as risky as leaving your full-time job at 23 sounds, in my head, like I'm a pretty risk-averse person actually. My parents are super risk-averse. They raised me to be the same, and so I had basically taken the time to like slowly take steps to make the transition as comfortable as possible.
Wow, the wisest 23-year-old.
I was wise in some ways.
Other ways, as we can tell.
Pretty normal. Like, yeah, most of the early Daily Dishonesties are mostly about drinking and eating too much.
I love this one.
Yeah.
That's a lie.
And so yeah, that was how I got my start in the lettering world, and I haven't looked back since. It's been 4.5 years, which is so weird to think about. Like I'm an adult now.
You're a real adult now. You're grown
I think
up.
you just passed one too on my Behance profile. One of them says like, I want to be 22 forever. Like I was 22 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I will say too, like for all the success I had with Daily Dishonesty, for those of you who are watching who are still in school or who just got out of school and are finding your first job, I was 22 years old. I was still getting drunk on the weekends. Like I did not have my life together at all.
Right.
But I somehow, and this is the advice I always give, draw from your personal experiences and what's going on in your real life and use your art to talk about that.
Yeah.
And if getting drunk on a Saturday night and like eating hangover food on a Sunday morning is what's actually happening in your life and is what's true for you.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that there are hundreds of thousands of other people who can relate.
Yes.
And so that's been my, I guess, impromptu marketing strategy, is to create work about things that are actually happening in my life, things that are actually interesting to me or funny to me. I always use my group of girlfriends as like my litmus test of like what's interesting or funny. And if you make work for yourself, you're making work for other people who are like you. So you're not only making work that makes you happy and excited to talk about, you're attracting an audience who also likes the stuff that you like. It's like a win-win.
You have like your group.
Absolutely.
Your core tribe.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's how it all happened for me.
Wow, what a story. And before we actually jump into looking at more of your work, everyone in chat is very impressed.
Hi, everybody in the chat.
Farouk likes your bracelet.
Ooh, thank you.
Also, your overalls are getting a lot of compliments.
Thank you. I did, for anyone who saw my last Instagram post, I did ask for compliments on my overalls. It's a new look for me. I usually do floral dresses, and I was online shopping the other night, and I was like, those overalls look cool. Like,
it's a look.
I think this is like my artist look. Like if I had a couple paint splotches and like some paintbrushes in my
paintbrush in your hair.
pocket.
Totally.
But yes, thank you for the overall compliment.
Yeah, that's awesome. And chat, if you don't know already, there is a portfolio review that Lauren is going to be leading in about 15 minutes. There should be a timer below us that we can't see. So when that hits 0, we'll be looking at maybe 2 or 3 portfolios, depending on when Adam JK goes live on the main stage, which we will be showing directly after this. So make sure you get your portfolio submitted. Maybe if it's illustration or graphic design or lettering based, that would be awesome. Really helpful to get Lauren's input on that, I'm sure. Yeah, Voodooval has your website posted in the chat. Super cool. And so chat, get those portfolio reviews in. And maybe let's talk about a couple of your projects besides your daily dishonesty.
Absolutely. What do you want to pull up?
Maybe Ex-Boyfriend Tears? We talked about this one.
Ex-Boyfriend Tears was my follow-up passion project. And again, the same advice that I just gave like a couple minutes ago about drawing inspiration from your own life. So after Daily Dishonesty, everything was wonderful. I was like on cloud 9. And then I went through a really bad breakup with my boyfriend, like so bad. Like social media unfollow bad. And so we went through a really bad breakup, and I was venting to a coworker one day. This is when I was still at the agency, and I was like, oh, like, this breakup sucks. I was just he was letting me complain about my ex-boyfriend. We're eating lunch at our desks, as you
Ravioli.
do. Yeah. Another sad food moment, eating lunch at our desks. Eating like expensive salads on our desks.
Chained to your desk.
Yeah. Very, very New York. And so I was venting, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, I was feeling just like emotionally charged, and there was a block of sticky notes on our desk, and he was just like supporting me, being like, yeah, he's awful, you know, as friends do.
Good friends.
And I picked up the block of sticky notes, and I scribbled down the words ex-boyfriend tears on a Post-it note, and then stuck it to my water bottle to make him laugh. It was just like a thing, you know, when you do funny stuff to make your friends laugh.
Yeah, and yourself laugh when you're really sad.
Exactly, and it was just like, I honestly couldn't even tell you what prompted it. It was just kind of an emotionally reactive thing.
Yeah.
I had a water bottle, I saw the Post-it notes,
right.
My ad brain maybe went off.
This happens.
And so I stuck it on the water bottle, and he was like, oh, like that's really funny. And I left the water bottle with the Post-it note on my desk. And for the rest of the day, every coworker that walked by was like, that's amazing, that's hilarious. People were taking pictures.
Yeah. And
after like the 15th person did that, I was like, maybe I have something here. And so like with Daily Dishonesty, once I had the idea, I was like, I can make this into a thing. And so I ended up going home and sketching out that logo, made it in Adobe Illustrator. And then I took the vector file and like researched a couple websites that had like screen printing on glass or like on flasks. Yeah. And I originally came out with a line of cups, shot glasses, mugs, and flasks that all said ex-boyfriend tears. Basically anything you could drink out of. And I just whipped up a quick website and started selling them. And it was really just one of those things that I wanted to make so I could just put it out in the world. Sometimes you feel an impulse like the world would be a better place if this thing was made. And like I said, making work for yourself. And so I put it out there, and I posted it on my Daily Dishonesty Tumblr blog just to get the word out there. It, you know, it wasn't a Daily Dishonesty, but I figured like, oh, if you think Daily Dishonesty humor is funny, you'll probably think this is funny too, because you know, your sense of humor tends to be in kind of the same realm. And so I posted it on the Daily Dishonesty Tumblr, went back to work, checked on it a couple hours later, and the post had 10,000 reblogs. And I
Even
was like,
better than your
what
first.
just happened? Yeah, and the average daily dishonesty post was getting like 4,000 reposts and likes. And so I was like, whoa, what happened? So I went through the history and I found out that John Green, who's like a super famous author, he wrote The Fault in Our Stars, which is made into the movie, and he's like a YouTuber. He's amazing.
Yeah.
He is a Tumblr. He was following Daily Dishonesty. I had no idea because I had like 40,000 followers at this point, so I couldn't keep track.
Right.
And he had reblogged it onto his blog, which had millions of followers. And
starstruck.
So, right after that happened, I had only printed like I'd only created an initial run of like 50 cups, maybe 20 flasks. Like it really wasn't that much. I sold out of everything within a week. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And I always like to call it internet karma, just because you put interesting stuff on the internet and you never know who's going to see it. And so my kind of like thing has been, what's the worst that could happen if you put this thing out there? Best case scenario, John Green reblogs it.
Yes.
Worst case scenario, only your mom sees it. And like that's not even a bad thing.
And it's fine.
I was talking with my friend Andy J. Miller, who's here. I don't know where he is.
He is?
Wait, is that him?
He was my professor at school.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait, you went to CCAD?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a small world. I was
What's up,
speaking
Andy?
at a CSCA event a couple months ago. That was actually 6 months ago, 9 months ago. That wasn't the other day. I lied.
It was like a couple
but I met
days
Andy
ago.
there. I love his podcast. I met a lot of people in Columbus. But he and I were talking about this concept of every time, like if you have Instagram, if you have a portfolio, if you have the internet, every time you post a piece of work is like a different lottery ticket or a different at-bat. We both use those different analogies.
Right.
You get as many, imagine someone was like, you can get as many lottery tickets as you want for free anytime.
Just put it out there.
One of them could win, all of them could not.
Right.
But what's the worst that could happen?
Especially because they're free.
Yeah, but if you look at what's happened with me, I've put work out there that I personally love, that I find entertaining, that I like to make, and more often than not, these have been pretty winning lottery tickets.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that at first I was like, oh, maybe Daily Dishonesty was just like a lucky thing that happened. But then it kept happening over and over and over again for my passion projects, which led to client work. And so I always joke with people that like the way I get work is by working more, but I work on projects that I like and that I'm the creative director of, and that just make me happy. I think that most creatives like to work and like are happy to do so. It's just you want to work on the stuff that you want to work on, which is why self-initiated passion projects, I think everyone should have one. I think it's a great escape. I think it's a good marketing tool for your business. It's just all around a good thing.
Right, and you have something on your website, I think, like about how to make your own passion projects.
Yeah, so about a year and a half ago, I started teaching a class called Passion to Paid, where I basically, once I realized there was a pattern in like, come up with an interesting concept based on something that's going on in your life, create the project, brand the project, make the website, reach out to blogs, like all this stuff. Like I was like, oh, there's a framework. And so I created a class where it's like brainstorming exercises, marketing exercises, and then like tactical tools to help you transition into freelance. So it's basically like a 10-week like passion project boot camp. And I was like, I wonder if anybody wants to learn how to do the thing, and it turns out a lot of people want to learn how to do the thing. So it's like a creative kind of exercise class, and like I do a Facebook Live. For those of you who've liked my live streams on Instagram, I have to do them like sparingly because it's a lot of energy to do a live stream. I'm happy to be here.
Yes.
But I do live streams in my online class, and it's been amazing to watch other people replicate the process. Like it's been so rewarding, and I honestly think that everybody has like a brilliant passion project hidden somewhere in their brain, maybe in your feelings, maybe it's in your inside jokes, maybe it's in your heartbreak. It's good stuff and bad stuff. Like it could honestly be like a really fleeting moment, something that catches your eye, something that makes you sad. It could be anything, and you can use your creative skill set to create a project about that other people can relate to. Because we're all human. We all have bad days, we all have good days, we all laugh at stupid stuff,
So true.
It's all pretty relatable.
Yeah.
Your work is more relatable than you think it is. Even if everyone always says like, oh, like, but I have a weird sense of humor, like no one likes the stuff that I like, and I'm like,
Someone does.
Not true. Like the internet is the great equalizer, I think. You can find your people, whatever your people are.
Right. I think actually Andy has a metaphor about like making rice balls. It's like everyone eats white rice. Like you can make a white rice ball, everyone will buy it, but no one will remember it. But it's like if you make a rice ball with like some crazy ingredients in it that you love, maybe only a handful of people will like it, but they'll love it. And then they'll kind of like grow what's going on.
Yeah.
That's so you. That's
Off of that
only
food
yours.
analogy, I came up with another one like a couple months ago
More food.
about nachos. Everyone loves nachos.
True.
So yeah, like whenever anyone's like, oh, like, but I don't have money to start a passion project. I don't have time. I don't have, the resources.
Right.
I always just tell people I started Daily Dishonesty with $10.
Yeah.
And like a sketchbook on my, desk. And I was still in college. It doesn't have to be expensive. The nacho analogy is the way that nachos were invented is there was a Mexican restaurant that some customers came in at the very end of the day. They were like kind of out of most ingredients, but they served them anyway. They were like, well, we're so hungry, we'll take anything. And so the chef, whose name was Ignacio, like Nacho, which is a nickname for Ignacio, whipped up whatever he had stuff in the kitchen. He like put together some like melted cheese on tortilla chips and like with some toppings and gave it to them, and they loved it.
Yeah.
And the point of the story is that nachos are delicious, but also that use whatever you have available to you, and it could be like a huge hit.
Yeah.
You don't have to have all the ingredients lined up, neatly organized before, like as a prerequisite to starting. You can just start with what you have. And sometimes those creative limitations based on your materials or the time you have, or just like the money, can be good. It gives you some constraints. It's like, okay, well, I can't afford, this, so how do I make it with just my sketchbook? Or how do I make it with just what I have laying around my dorm room? That can be a fun challenge, the same way you get challenged with creative briefs through client work or at your full-time job, you can kind of flip the tables on yourself and brief yourself.
Yeah, when you came up with that nacho analogy, I thought it was going to be more of like you can make nachos with like fully loaded. It could just have jalapenos, like whatever you have, you can make nachos.
Also true. Yes.
Also true. Very cool. So speaking of food, can we talk about this?
Absolutely.
Because I love
I wish I was wearing one right now. Like, I don't have any bread in my purse.
We'll do that in post-production.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Is this a green screen, actually?
It's a gradient screen.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So yes, this project that you pulled up is flower crown. So for those of you who follow me on Instagram, who probably started following me for lettering, I just started a project last year called Flower Crowns, where I make crowns out of bread and cookies, anything that's made with flour, and photograph myself in like a high fashion pose.
Yes.
And this idea has nothing to do with lettering. I honestly, again, this is a good example of just making something that you're like, the world needs to see this.
Right.
This is fun. Like, I would think this is funny. Like,
Right.
the things that you share with your friends and you're like, oh, this is so funny or this is so cute. Those things that you share, you could be the person making the stuff that people are sharing, even if it's weird. So it was just a fun personal exercise to, I've been lettering for a couple years, and it's not that I enjoy it any less, it's just I wanted to shake things up.
Yeah.
All these photos are taken on my self-timer on my digital camera. It's nothing really fancy.
Yeah.
I actually make these crowns out of real food with some wire and a headband, and then I eat them afterwards, or I try to if they're not super stale.
Right.
But yeah, I started this project just as a fun thing, and I started posting it on the same Instagram feed that I post my lettering on, and I thought it was gonna at first like alienate people. Like, when you follow someone, you expect a certain thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh no, and then I was like, wait, but I want people who are here for my ideas just as much as they are for the lettering.
Yeah.
And so I was like, my true fans are gonna stick around, and if anything, I think it helped differentiate me as a letterer, because how many letterers do you know who also do a food crown project? And the idea for this one came from, it was like February of last year. It was about to be like Coachella season, festival season.
Perfect.
So my social media feeds were blowing up with like festival fashion and things like that. And I had read the term flower crown, and then I was like, my like lettering brain just made a pun, and I was like, flower, like bread, crown, like that's stupid. And then I was like, wait, no, it's kind of funny.
I feel like
so
it is stupid and funny.
Yeah, and it can be stupid and funny. And I loved, I watched Tina Roth Eisenberg's talk this morning, and I just loved it so much because she talks about infusing joy into your work, and it's so interesting because I preach the same thing: joy, happiness, silliness, playfulness, make work that you want to see.
Right.
But then I was talking with my new friend Chris today about how actually applying that advice in your own life, we get in our own heads like, oh no, but there's so many things going wrong in the world. It's selfish to make fun work. It's selfish. I don't deserve to make joyful work.
It's like
but
privileged.
when you see someone else making joyful work, you're so excited, and you're like, yeah, that's amazing. I wish I could make work like that.
Right.
The truth is, you can, and you just have, as a creative person, I think that you have to indulge your creativity, and you have to, the same way, you take time, like let's say you take time to like take a bubble bath and like take some you time. You need to take some you time with your work too.
So true.
Even if you're really passionate about social justice and activism and making the world a better place, you can't do that 100% of the time if it's draining you.
Right.
It's hard. And so you have to balance it out with, obviously you want to make a positive impact, but
Right.
you need to do stuff just for you sometimes. So the same way, like sometimes you take an evening off and just watch Netflix and do nothing. It's okay to quote unquote like do nothing with your work. It doesn't have to always be a big thing. You can just make work for you, and honestly, you'll reap a lot of benefits from that, personally and career-wise, I would say, professionally.
Yeah, you seem really excited to be making the work you
I'm
make.
pretty jazzed.
Pretty jazzed, pretty pepped on life.
Yes.
Totally. Cool, so that was very inspirational. I think everyone in the chat
Hi,
is super
everybody in the
excited.
chat.
Heidi says you should do a gluten-free series to play off of
Ooh.
the gluten buzz.
I should do a
going
gluten-free
on.
crown. I'll call it like the gluten-free goddess series.
Yes, I love that. Totally agree. Farouk wants to know, what is you time?
Ooh, me
What's you
time.
time? What's me
So
time?
personally, me time is going to a coffee shop with my sketchbook, not looking at my phone and just drawing whatever I want. But also me time is kind of cliche, like I have this like extra wooden board at home that like we had left over from like a craft project, and I'll put it across the bathtub and use it as like a table, and I'll have some ice cream, a glass of wine, take a bubble bath. So that's like my cliche me time. But honestly,
works.
me time is just being able to make stuff purely because I want to make stuff. No client work, not even a passion project sometimes, just playtime.
Yeah.
I think that's, for me, like I feel best when I'm in my creative flow. And for those of you watching who are creative, you probably know what it's like when you can work for 8 hours and you just enjoy it so much and it feels good. And I imagine it's like what people talk about when they get into like their runner's groove.
Yep.
I don't personally run,
I'll
but
never
I'm
understand
guessing that's the same thing.
Yeah, like 8
runner's
hours
high.
pass and you're like, where did the day go?
Totally.
When did I last eat? What
So
is going on?
I think that's me time. I also like to cook. That's me time.
I can see from your flower crowns.
Yeah.
That's more baking, I guess. So maybe we can pop away from my screen so I can
Sure.
pull up some portfolios.
Absolutely.
Because you in chat have been brave enough.
Oh my goodness! Thank you for submitting
Yes.
your questions and your comments and your portfolios. Who submitted a portfolio?
Heck yeah. So we've picked a couple that we're going to talk about over the next 30-ish minutes, depending
Ooh.
on when Adam goes live on the stage. So we might have to leave pretty quickly, very suddenly.
It's honestly kind of worth it though, because Adam's amazing.
Right. Yeah, actually,
I was
can.
fangirling pretty hard when I saw that I was like the live stream opening for him.
Right. So let's actually go back to my screen really quick, and I
Yeah.
can show everyone Adam J. Kurtz.
If you don't follow Adam's work, you should. It's
Oh,
brilliant and simple and colorful.
Right.
And just, it's so good.
so before we do that, we're going to do a little intro.
Okay.
Let's dive in. Welcome back. We're in space now. It happened very quickly. I'm not sure how we did this. But before we jump into the portfolio reviews, this is Adam's work. He's going to be speaking in about 30 minutes. So lots of good vibes here, lots of real talk going on with Adam's work.
Yeah, what I was drawn to in Adam's work is, again, like what I said, like just he talks about things that are going on in his own brain and his own life. A lot of his work is about, like battling your own personal demons and like pepping yourself up in terms, like creatively believing in yourself, like acknowledging that things are hard, it's okay, like but things will get better. Like they're really just little like creative pep talks, and they're really simple. He started off just doing like his handwriting on little colored backgrounds.
Right.
And it's brilliant. I think a lot of it plays off of pop culture and just the way we communicate in modern times. And if you don't follow him already, you should. It's just like a joy to have in your Instagram feed.
Yeah.
It'll make
fun.
you feel motivated and happy.
Yeah. So
And that you're not alone. I think that's a big thing that his work has done for me is just, even when you reach a certain amount of success, you still have your own doubts about your work and you have your days and it's normal. And the last thing I'd want for anyone to do is beat themselves up over having a bad creative day. Like if you're already in a slump, don't get yourself into a super slump. You don't want to be in a slump. You just want to be in the regular slump, and then you'll bounce
get
back.
out.
Things do get better.
Totally.
It's okay.
So go check out Adam's work and stick around after this stream in about 25 minutes for his talk. Okay, so we have 3 amazingly talented people and brave people who have submitted their portfolios. Our first is, I believe, Moned or Miriam.
Okay.
So they're based in Ecuador. It says focusing on illustration, character design, and graphic design. and then has a little bit of a work experience. So what we like to do when we do
Okay.
these reviews is look at how it's laid out from kind of a 10,000 feet
Okay.
view, like if there's a bio, if there are any links, and then we'll jump into maybe 2 or 3 projects.
Sure.
And check them out.
Absolutely.
So just from here, what do you think?
Am I on camera right now, or am I?
You are on camera.
Oh, hi everybody. Let me take a look.
up a little bit.
Oh, thank you. All about the screen brightness.
Yeah.
All right. Looking at this.
Yeah, one thing I'm noticing is that there's no link to an external portfolio,
Also
which
true.
is not a bad thing because this is obviously a portfolio, but sometimes it's nice to have another link, like go to my site here, or maybe providing an email, something like that.
Yeah, that's true. Contact information. I personally usually like to see a little bit of like a short 1-paragraph bio.
Right.
I found a lot of
Over here.
success in talking the way, like writing the way that I speak, and like showing a little bit of personality in your
Right.
bio, just because it's, I mean, the way I think about it is, you know, no one has an attention span online. Like if you can get them with a funny joke or just something that like you want to show off a little bit of your personality, I do
Right.
think that the work speaks more, but having those supporting elements like a nicely curated portfolio, having nicely written project descriptions or an about me, I think giving people more, if they want to learn more about you, it's good to give them the option.
Yes,
You
easy.
shouldn't assume that they will, but like I was going through my website the other day, and apparently my most clicked on page on my website is my about page.
They're like,
which
who
so
is she?
interesting. Yeah, I'm really not that interesting. I'm just a regular old gal.
Wearing overalls.
Yes, wearing overalls, which is, I feel like it's my transition into like adulthood, is that I can comfortably wear overalls.
Oh, it's like
in
reverting
public.
back.
Yes. Well, one thing I will say is that I've been loving these because this front pocket I've been using as a wallet, as an art supply holder, and the other day I was at a concert, wine holder.
Oh, with a
Who
little
knew?
straw.
Yeah,
curly
exactly.
straw.
You just can't move around too much.
Right. Shake around. Cool.
I
So
think,
let's
back to the portfolio.
let's jump into one of these.
yeah.
Any of them catch your interest?
Ooh, let's do one with some lettering, just because that's my
This little
that's
guy?
my thing.
Cool.
I think the thumbnails are looking pretty good. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a nice header.
Yeah, so it's Ecuador. Unfortunately, I don't speak the language, but I'm
Hablo un poco español, pero no mucho. I interned in Madrid for a summer, and I am from Los Angeles, so I took 2 years of Spanish. But as you all know, anyone who's trying to learn another language, when you don't practice, it goes away. It's like
Yes.
abs; it just goes away.
they're still there, just hiding. Cool. So it looks
Exactly.
like there's some sort of story being told here, which is really cool.
I think I love the color breaks. I think that's a fun way to organize it. I was just talking with my students about this last night. You know, presenting the design work that you do in an interesting way. The amount of care you put into the project itself, you should put into presenting it. So whether that's mocking it up on that newsprint right there, you know, even with a little bit of drop shadow, it
That's
doesn't have to
nice.
be real all the time. But if you can show it in situation, I find that that's very helpful for people to like be like, oh, that could be my business card, or
Yes.
like that could be
They see themselves.
my poster.
Yeah.
The same way that like, you know, showing a haircut on somebody or showing clothing on a model is important because you can
Yes.
almost picture yourself in there a bit.
Totally. And at the end here, there's awesome social links pushing you
Very
in different
good.
directions.
Very,
Super
very
helpful.
good. I think the colors are super fun. I'm a maximalist, so I love all
Ooh,
the
nice.
neon colors going on. There's definitely a lot going on. The lettering, I'm going to take a look at the lettering. Okay, so one thing I will say, I'm not sure if this is a typeface, actually. I'm starting to think it might be a typeface.
Because of the
Because of the-
spacing.
Well, yeah, so I was going to say, with a script font, I will say, one thing that you don't want to track it out too much, because if you look closely, and this is something that I did earlier on, so it's okay, like the E doesn't connect to the C, you can see the tail
Yeah.
doesn't quite go into the next letter, and with a script type, you do want them to connect. So this one was just tracked out a little bit too much.
It works
so
in some places. Like
yes,
right
so
here
like
is nice.
in TNA, the TIEN is good, but then, well, that N actually right there looks like a different glyph, and it's stylized to be a little bit
Right.
below the baseline.
But right here,
But
a little
ideally, yeah, there's just like between the A and the B especially, it doesn't look as intentional as like you could almost get away with it in Ecuador because none of the letters touch.
Yeah.
Except for the O and the R, I guess. So that would be my only like technical, I guess, criticism. But I do like the product. I like the colors a lot.
Flows
Really nice
really
presentation.
Maybe we'll pop into one more illustrative.
Okay.
Any thoughts on that?
Oh, I see. Is that a narwhal?
This one? I think it's a dugong, like a manatee.
Oh, Like a Pokemon?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I wish I could go to my purse. I have a Pikachu wallet, by the way. I decided that the older and more successful I get, the more ridiculous my accessories are going
Overall,
to be.
Pikachu wallet, wine. Perfect.
This is cute. I actually really
cute.
like the animation. One thing that I incorporated into my portfolio about 2 years ago was I had just a bunch of thumbnails on my portfolio, and I animated a couple of the thumbnails to be like GIFs, and so they move a little bit. And
Yeah.
I think it really helps with the visual interest. It makes it fun to watch. Like even during Tina's talk, she had slides, but she had some GIFs in there.
Yeah.
Totally just makes it fun and joyful
Yeah.
to watch. I thought that was cool. It's definitely character design. Oh, is that a Clefairy? This is our Pokemon now.
It's either Clefable and Chansey. So this is the project that
Okay.
this dugong was a part of. So that's cool, getting collaborative with your friends. So
Very
it looks
cool.
like the Ecuadorian
very cool.
Pokedex. Nice. So I love to see that you're collaborating. That's great.
I dig it. Teal's my favorite color, so you already won me there, I suppose.
Yeah, and I feel like with this project, you don't need so much context. Like it's like, all right, here is the iterations.
It's true.
Here are the little animations. Here it is in the Pokedex.
But I will say, for Behance, it is presented nicely, because one thing I will say that I've personally had experience with on Behance is series tend to do better on Behance, so like a body of work or lots of process. And so even though this is like more or less one illustration just done a couple ways, because you have the nice kind of long vertical layout, it does help to make the project more interesting. Imagine you just had one of the illustrations and you showed your outlines and your sketches. That's really good.
Yes.
But yes, I've posted like one-off pieces on Behance, and they just don't do as well, because people, I think, want to see more portfolio, like curated pieces. And I always tell my students too, like, if you don't have a lot of content at first, it's okay to post just one-off pieces, but eventually you do want to swap those out with a little bit more conceptual pieces or series, bodies of work that you've done, just because I think it shows a little bit more finish and like a higher level of thinking on your portfolio.
Want to level up a little bit.
Yes, level up.
Nice job,
You
Miriam.
want to evolve. If we're talking about Pokemon, you want to evolve.
Got to evolve to the next step. So, looking at the work and then stepping back out, what is, do you think, the biggest thing that they could work on to kind of strengthen portfolio? Just from what you've seen so far.
Just from what I've seen so far. So I like that there's kind of a color palette going on.
Yeah.
I think that, hold on, I'm absorbing right now.
Sure. Take your time.
I think that some of the thumbnails could pop a little bit more. I think that especially like the first row, there's a couple of them with color. The second row, a little bit more lackluster. I'd say maybe just stronger thumbnails.
Yeah.
Maybe you crop into your project slightly differently. Like the Dugong project, I think could be centered, or
it's a
maybe
little off-kilter.
maybe it's even just like a bigger, like honestly, a quick and easy hack to make thumbnails is just to crop into like the most interesting part. It can be just like a detail shot.
And it can be pretty cropped.
Yeah, it can be pretty cropped. Or one thing that I've seen a lot of people do in their, at least like their actual websites, are you can just create a different thumbnail just for the thumbnail. Maybe it's like they're all the same color. All your thumbnails are the same color palette, and then you hover, and then it's the actual thing, or you click on it. You can do that with your Behance profile. You can edit the thumbnail and make it more custom. I think that the work itself is good, and I think that, if there was just, like even the Ecuador project that we looked at, I think if there was just more like of a focal point or a little more hierarchy in there, like, and with the thumbnails, I'd say, because like everything's going on, everything is more or less of the same importance, I'd say, in this project. And so maybe it's as simple as scale, maybe it's as simple as, blocking off a separate section for things, but I think, the crops of the thumbnails could be a little stronger, but I think that the work is good.
The work is really cute and good. I agree. So great job, Miriam. Thank you so much for submitting.
Thank you.
Hope that was helpful. And everyone go follow Miriam in chat. I believe that her link might have been posted. Cool. And also, I don't know if you knew this, chat, but you can click on each other's thumbnails, and then you can go to each other's portfolios. All right, let's hop over to Ayesha Sohail from Pakistan. So here's a little bit of a about me for this one. Visualizer, struggling to build a bridge between the worlds of art and design. Storyteller, illustrator, and letterer, communicate using the language of paint and colors to connect the hearts through emotions.
Ooh, that second line's real good.
Yeah, cool. So it seems like you've got quite a few projects going on, a little bit of work experience.
Okay, so I see some like mobile stuff, I see some lettering, I see some print, I see some illustration.
Yeah, kind of a conglomeration.
That's a lot.
Right. Do you want to jump into
I will
one?
say right off
Go
the bat,
ahead.
when you read me the bio, I think maybe, I don't know if it's a language barrier, but I think that you should swap out the word struggling for something maybe like aspiring to.
More positive.
Just because the connotation of the word struggling is like, ugh.
Yeah.
I think that the language that you use when describing your projects definitely affect how someone perceives them. And so
Right.
I think trying to, portray your mission in a more positive light, even though I totally know what you're trying to say. I think that just saying like, what does it say? A visualizer, like, striving to build a, what is it?
Build a bridge
yes.
between the worlds of
I'd
art
say
and design.
striving, aspiring, aiming to, like, focused on. I think that copywriting-wise, that would be my recommendation. Just looking through the thumbnails at first, I think that you obviously have a strong sense of color. I really like that going on. I think, and this is just a personal preference, I like to see a lot of color in portfolios.
Right.
I think some thumbnails are stronger than others. I think that you could probably, I think my advice, because there's more work on this profile than the other one.
True.
I think my advice would be to edit down a little bit, actually. I think that some of the thumbnail, maybe we haven't clicked into all the projects, but how many projects are there right now on your Behance? I actually need
Over
to go
20.
through my Behance and edit down a little bit.
Yeah.
Anything that's maybe just a singular piece of work or something that was a little bit older, I have to go through my portfolio like once a year and take work out that isn't necessarily representative of what I'm currently doing and the skill set I currently have. And I think a portfolio is all just like, there's just lots of iterations. It's constantly getting better. It's always a work in progress. You'll never have the perfect portfolio. It's
So
just
true.
not possible. So it's good to, who was talking? I think T was talking about it in her talk about, you should strive for things and like know what you're trying to achieve, but not necessarily set like cut and dry goals. It's good to have an idea of where you're going and what you want to achieve, but it's hard to say like, it's really hard to quantify like my portfolio would be perfect when ...
X, Y, and Z, yeah.
Or like I'll be successful when I have 100,000 Instagram followers or something. You can't really quantify it that way.
And then it's like, what happens next?
Exactly.
Right.
And Tina had a really good bit in an article I read about her, saying that like the goals that you set for yourself, it was like why we feel less accomplished when we achieve our goals, and it's because, let's say my goal at 18 was to go to art school, go do advertising, be an art director in an advertising agency.
Yep.
I got the thing 4 years later, and it wasn't what I wanted currently.
Yes.
So you're achieving goals that you set for yourself 5-10 years ago. So you have to be in tune with what you currently want. And I think that the analogy I've been using lately is portfolios, your creative career, everything in general. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And so if you know you love being creative, it's going to be a process. You might be 50 and very accomplished someday and still hate your work as much as you do when you were, 15.
Right.
So it's constantly a process. It'll never be perfect. It'll never be done. It's done when your body tells you it's done, I suppose.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's totally okay.
The goal is to be creative.
Oh, I'm liking these sketchbook shots. So it looks like you're doing a sketchbook, like an analog, and then you have a digital version of it right afterwards.
So it seems like 10 days of creative hand lettering, so maybe 10 different versions, and then showing it in context. So this is probably the most simple one that Aisha has, but even these like first ones are kind of full pages. Even the very first one, I think, might just be a collection of random words, or it might also be a quote.
Interesting.
Yeah, really good practice, like actually getting your hand on some paper and a pen.
Yeah, I think the presentation is really nice. I don't know how nitpicky we're getting. I think the lighting might be a little harsh on the sketchbook, but that's, I think, a simple thing to fix.
Yeah.
I don't know if you actually, oh, wait, can you scroll up a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
So it looks like you drew these on your iPad, and then did you Photoshop it into the sketchbook? I'm not sure.
Oh, could
or
be.
maybe you did it in your sketchbook and scanned it? I'm not quite sure.
It looks like actual paper, because this looks like maybe white ink on top of black. And then you can see it on the back. Unless that's very good Photoshop.
I know, I was going to say, very cool. I like the idea of doing the sketchbook and then the digital piece. I will say one thing for me, just as a presentation thing, I don't think you need all of the props in your sketchbook shots. I actually think that these would be stronger closer up on the sketchbook with less headphones and pens.
Right.
I think you could keep it a little bit simpler. Maybe even for visual interest, these sketches are photographed like on an angle, maybe just to change it up a little bit. I think that the overhead flat lay shot is good, but just again the same way you're breaking it up, sketchbook digital, you could get even more playful, I think, with your layout.
Cool. So I think we have about 5 more minutes.
Oh,
we'll see.
Flies.
It's all relative, but let's maybe give a final feedback on Aisha.
Okay.
And I'm going to scroll through another one of the projects while we're kind of giving the final feedback.
Oh, that's cool.
Less lettering, more graphic design. I think this definitely fixes your kind of visual interest.
Yeah, look at all these different crops and
really
very
nice.
cool. The texture in there is really nice.
Yeah.
I think the presentation is good.
Very dystopian.
Yeah, that one's really good. I will say, just as a general overview, it seems like there's a lot happening in the portfolio. I see some branding, packaging, app, illustration, lettering. I think, obviously it's good to have a lot of interest. I think that maybe, and this honestly comes with time too. I think eventually, if you focus your portfolio a little bit more and maybe choose 1 or 2 things that you specialize in at first or that you want to really focus on, that could be helpful in growing an audience. The best way I've heard it described is like when...
Oh, we're going to have to actually leave. That was pretty quick. So we're going to just do 2 portfolios today. Come back after Adam's talk, and we'll see you soon.
Adam's going to be so good. Bye, thanks for tuning in.
God, don't fuck with me, I swear I'm having fun. But they took that away. I really didn't plan to intro with that, but I guess we're doing it. As you can see, I am white at the design conference. I'm a white man at the design conference, so probably should talk to you about embracing failure, right? That's it's my role here. 8 years ago, I was 21. I was a recent design school grad. I'm scrolling Tumblr, and I saw this image that was like, blah, 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 WK12, blah, 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 free trip to Portland. Now, I had my septum piercing, so I was like, free trip to Portland. That sounds great. And there was an application process that involved some creative prompts, and I did it, and I actually won this trip. And the trip was really an interview process at Wieden & Kennedy's offices in Portland. And I met all these advertising professionals. Again, I knew nothing about advertising. I Googled how to pronounce Wieden & Kennedy while standing at the front door. That is true. And it was really, so I didn't end up doing this program, but it was my first introduction to sort of failure culture, the way that failure is sort of celebrated in professional creative spaces. And I left that experience, and I got back home, and I remember being like, what? What? Failure? What? And I sort of understood it, but I was also just like, what? I really could not wrap my head around this, and so I made this GIF 8 years ago. Again, this is my thought process is feel something, make a GIF. But let me back all the way up. I know that you don't know who I am. That's because I'm literally fucking irrelevant. That's fine. But I'm going to catch you up because it'll just make this thing easier for everybody. So I was a kid once. Then I was a teen. That's actually me and Michelle Branch, so we've both really come a long way. No shade, I love Michelle Branch. I'm Canadian. I believe that women are people. This is a weirdly controversial opinion. I think that women are people. I don't know. Didn't know that was weird. I was on SNL once by mistake. I was walking to work. I put the slide in here so you know at one point I held a job. I love bread. I love bread so much. And I'm the author of several illustrative books on creativity and mental health. So real talk, I probably should be here to talk about failure. Now, we've heard this thing over and over before, and no disrespect to anyone who loves failing, good for you. But we're told, fail harder, fail better, fail stronger, embrace failure. Failure is amazing. I love to fail. So I'm just thinking, so failure's amazing, and perfection's a myth. You guys, should we be bad? Because is that what, again, failure's great, perfect is a myth. Should we be bad? This is what my work looks like. How can I say this generously? Simple illustrative work. And most of the time it is all about what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the focus, the message is the focus, the execution takes about 3 fucking seconds. And for some reason, this is the foundation of a sustainable creative career. So I made this journal called One Page at a Time. It's been translated into 17 languages. And I sort of stumbled onto this deeply human, common thing. And I'm able to turn off your cell phones. I don't want to see a single fucking phone unless you're following me on Instagram. It's Adam JK. I had to leave my phone backstage, and part of me is like dying. I just need that weight. I'm just watching the clock tick, and I'm like, there's 59 slides left. Somehow, this work is the foundation of an entire career and a creative life. I'm not very good. I'm kind of like the poster child for not being good. But I'm real. This is who I am. And if this were an affectation, can you imagine I sit down to workshop the thing that will bring me success, and I'm like, okay, yes, overweight gay Jew. Oh, and be moody? No, depressive. Yes, that'll work. No, this is who I am. And if I had chosen a persona, I would have aimed a little bit higher. So let's be bad together. I'm going to go into what I mean here, and maybe by the end of this talk, I'll have brought you over the dark side. So you all be Olivia Newton-John, right, at the end of Grease, and I'll be John. I don't like this anymore. Moving on. Part 1, be honest. Be honest, right? The message is the focus. My work looks bad, but I have a lot to say. The intention and the message is the core of what I do, and so I'm making these sort of childish-looking interactive journals and gift products and stationery, and I personally think that my visual voice, the handwriting that I use, is immediately disarming. It's emotive, and it allows me to tackle difficult topics or make tools for others to communicate difficult sentiments. But listen, it's not for everyone. Some people don't really like it. I'm dying to tell you who said this, because he's an industry professional. Facebook is not private. Next slide. I say what I mean. This is who I am. Simple and direct often works the best. This is one of my first popular projects. These balloons literally blew up. Thank you for laughing at that joke. Thank you. I know. Again, I say what I mean. This is a coffee mug I'm at. It says, I love you like I love my coffee, first in the morning or last at night, dark or sweet or both, right now and later and always and constantly. I'm not subtle. I fell in love. I fell in love so fucking hard 5 years, 5 months, 3 weeks ago, right, babe? And it changed my whole life because I had heard of love. I knew what love was supposed to be, but all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, love is actually real. And then I was like, what else is real? All of a sudden, there were all these possibilities, and I realized, oh my God, love is real. Okay, that means every pop song is real. Oh my God, Ariana Grande is a genius, and it was this huge moment for me. As you can tell, I don't know how to be cool. We are told to hide our feelings. I don't know how to do that. This is the first zine I ever made. We know what zines are, right? I remember the day that Kanye tweeted about zines, and he was like, zine, short for magazine, and I was like, thank God. I can stop explaining it. Although it is a weird time to bring up Kanye tweets. That's not in my notes. I shouldn't say this. This is actually streaming live on the internet right now, so my career's fucked. Shitty self-published zine, an edition of 25. It was me sort of writing feelings on paper or on objects and then photographing them. Almost nobody has this because it barely exists. Last month, I wrote a bunch of feelings on rocks for the New Yorker.com. I haven't come a long way. And finally, again, being honest, embracing reality, embracing the message. I'm not an expert, not just for this reason, but I'm not an expert because we don't all respond best when we're being preached to, right? If I just stood here and said a bunch of truths at you, again, at you, not with you, you would be like, fuck this dude. I'm just processing my existence in the way I know how to. I'm a tool or weapon completely free, which is literally terrifying. I discovered my power and I was like, oh God. Better make a novelty gift product about it. And now, despite writing a book of literal advice for creatives, I wrote this book called Things Are What You Make of Them. .com. I can't believe it's only $14 at major booksellers. Despite writing a book of advice for creative people, I'm still not an expert. And the entire book is as if we were having a conversation. And then, again, I mentioned I'm Jewish, right? The last page of the book, the acknowledgement section, is not thank yous. It's just me acknowledging things. Like, I acknowledge that this book might not be good. I acknowledge that I'm not an expert, even though I wrote this book. I acknowledge that all advice is subjective and may not work for you. This is who I am. Part 2, good does not equal better. What is this? What is this? It looks so familiar. For anyone who doesn't know, it is the album art from Joy Division's Unknown Pleasures. The image itself was lifted from a 1960s textbook. So this t-shirt idea was a commentary on the nature of appropriation on the internet. This t-shirt should not exist and was not supposed to. I was going to bed one night, it was like 11:30, and I was like, idea. So I used Photoshop. It's part of the Adobe Creative suite of products. I quickly put this on Tumblr and I wrote, now accepting pre-orders, hyperlink to the Google search result for the word no. It's funnier with the link, but I was not selling the shirt. I go to bed, I wake up the next morning, 5,000 reblogs, and like 20 straight dudes in my inbox like, hey man, your link's broken, I really want to buy that awesome shirt, man. I apologize to any straight men in the audience, I respect you less than everyone else. And then the original designer of the album art in an interview with The Guardian called it profoundly clever. And I was like, damn, I guess nothing matters. Bad design works. Good does not equal better because bad design works. Hello, what is a meme? This is design at its most fundamental. This is it. Damn, what a perfect fucking image on this big screen. It's a combination of text and image that quickly communicate a wide range of thought. Yeah. This was a tough one for me too, guys, but I'm part of the fucking problem. And it has completely changed not just language, but our industry. It has changed design. This is already happening. So if you're sitting here and you're like, I don't really like that, too fucking bad, dude. Probably is a dude, right? Hesitant to change. Never getting hired again. Good does not equal, what was it? How does my slide go? Babe, do you remember? Overworking your stuff can undermine trust. People, especially on the internet, love weird, and we don't trust things that are too polished. That's why major brands are pretending to be teenagers on Twitter. The feel when I love the new Wendy's Square Burger. I've never been to Wendy's. I grew up kosher. This is a bad joke for me to be making. So be quick, be honest, be accessible, make work that is self-referential, direct and funny, a little bit loose. This is a tote bag. It says 10 productive uses for this tote bag. Cute project. This is client work for a Microsoft event. What? 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 Good is not better because success is about more than talent. Success is about timing, resources, context. Also, success doesn't exist. It's not a single tangible goal. Whew, that's a lot for one slide. Case in point, this is a thing that I made. This did not take any talent or special skills. First, I dissed Wyden Kennedy. Now I diss Nike. It's like I can never go back to Portland. Banned. This got me some of my first mainstream press. And it wasn't just that Adweek picked it up. Adweek interviewed me about that thing I just showed you. #sadvertising. That's fucked up. Again, talent is not the only component in being successful. And a few years ago, I was named 15 under 30. I put this slide in here just so you know I am still under 30. But only barely. Last night, someone who I sleep with every single night was like, you really need to stop mentioning that you're under 30. And I swear I pitched more involved executions for this, but they were like, no, great, do this. Part 3, nobody cares. Nobody is waiting for you to fuck up. Just make work. This is a tattoo that I made for myself because I was like, all right, I'm gay, I should make some gay art. Like, I want to contribute to like the historical canon of queer art in America. Like, let me do this thing. And it was just a tattoo for myself. And then people were like, I want to buy that. And I was like, it's my arm. So we made a pin, and all of you get a free pin. That's right, you get a pin. You get a pin. I have been dying to fucking make this joke. For those of you watching at home on Behance Live, you can visit shop.adamjk.com. Nobody cares, so the pressure is off. The average American scrolls through 5 miles of content per year. Real talk, we're in New York and it's a room of media professionals. We are probably scrolling like 20 miles. Someone out there is living their best life and we are like pulling him into the average. The pressure is officially off. There's a lot of shit on the internet and you can just put some stuff on social media. They let you do that. Just put it up. And if people like it, they like it. And if they don't like it, they keep on scrolling. Doesn't fucking matter. People are like, how are you so honest on the internet all the time? And I'm like, nobody cares. Nobody's listening to me. It's really easy to talk when no one's listening. I'm actually finding it very easy to talk with all of you listening. They gave me a countdown clock, and I was like, can I just have like 5 more minutes? If people really like something, they'll be like, hey man, can I buy that? Make that a pin. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I'm still laughing at it. That's fucking funny. And here's the most fucked up part. Again, I mentioned success is about more than talent. My personal Instagram account was a Webby Award honoree. Let me quickly clarify that it goes winner, nominee, honoree. So I'm basically like a not loser. But I'll take it. It's the first time I haven't been a loser in my entire fucking life. Again, my Instagram is like a scrapbook. There's no pressure. Nothing matters. But if it's good, people will like it. And again, if it's bad, people will keep scrolling. Nobody cares because you're not special. We think people are paying attention to us. They're probably not. This is not the Grammys. When I leave this stage, I am fucking nobody. I ate lunch by myself in that building over there. I just told you that I ate lunch by myself and 1,000 people laughed at me. You are all part of the problem. That is fucked up. You guys are... All right, New York crowd. Oh, did I mention that I like live here? I live in Williamsburg. I didn't really need to say I live in Williamsburg, you know, right? You're like, he loves Portland, but he can't go there. What's left? Here are some nice little GIFs that I made. You can add these to your Instagram stories if you search for Adam JK, and that sparkle heart has over 82 million loops. The longer I pause, the more loops it gets. People enjoy this, and they have no idea who I am, and that's totally fine. Again, we're not special. We're here making the work. Who we are is largely irrelevant. I actually think that a lot of people believe that I'm just like an Urban Outfitters dude. There's like 10 white dudes in lab coats, and they're like, all right, we're going to add a dash of that overweight Jew. Mood stabilizers. Let's see what we get. And I don't really care. That's okay, because if you walk into an accessible store and purchase an interactive journal that encourages you to embrace your feelings and maybe get through a difficult year, if I can sneak attack you with art therapy, then my job is done. You can't really see it, but under my name on the book, it says some guy. It literally does. We have sold like whatever, a number. I don't know why I'm being modest now. A number of books that say that basically I'm largely irrelevant. A lot of my work, hello? Oh, I'm pressing the laser button. You guys want to see the laser? It's dangerous. A lot of my work exists so far beyond who I am. I made this 5 years ago to text to a friend who was in a car accident. She's made a full recovery, so obviously the post-it note is correct. But now, this pops up all over the place on like yoga inspiration account, Lena Dunham's Instagram. And it's hilarious because obviously I personally am a deeply unhealthy person. Nobody cares because nobody cares how talented you are. Everyone in this room has access to the brilliant Adobe suite of creative tools. Can you believe how easy and accessible those tools are? If I don't get booked to speak at this every year from now on, something's wrong. We all have the tools and skills. Being yourself is the difference. And real talk, if you are super talented and also an asshole, nobody wants to work with you. A lot of my favorite projects are the product of just being nice to people, not networking, not showing up with like a business card, just talking to people and then something happens. I do not remember meeting the person who works at the Brooklyn Public Library. But 2 years later, she was in a position to hire an illustrator to design their fleet of bookmobiles, and she picked me. And I was like, amazing. That's pretty cool. I don't know how to drive. This is a big deal for me. This is a collection I did with the Housewares giant Fishizetti. I love them. A nice conversation led to this. In fact, I am speaking here today because I met a woman at a party, and she was really nice, and I enjoyed talking to her. And the next day, she was like, do you want to speak at 99U conference? And I was like, are you sure? I was like, last chance to get out of this very generous offer. I will understand. To review, be honest. Good does not equal better, and nobody fucking cares. I embrace not knowing, and I let myself create and share as I grow. I'm working on my own definitions of success. Get out of your fucking head. Just make something. Just figure out what you want to say and fucking say it. That's allowed. The only constant is that everyone in this room is gonna die. I told Tiffany, I was like, thank you for bringing up death, because I'm going to take it one step further. Everyone here and everyone watching at home, gotcha, you're all going to die. So have some fun. Why else do we do the thing that we do? And maybe at the end of all of this, being bad might actually be pretty good. Creepy wink. Thank you so much. My name's Adam J. Kurtz.
We are here and we are closing out for the day. Wasn't that an amazing talk? We were all cracking up over here in the Adobe Live booth. So we have been here at the Adobe 99U conference in New York City, and we're going to be back tomorrow bright and early around, I think, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, so make sure you come back for that. Maybe we can look at the schedule super quickly, and we'll also leave you with the schedule to look at. We're going to be starting tomorrow morning with Scott Belsky, the founder of Behance, and also have other select talks streamed live to you, as well as creatives from Brooklyn and New York and other places around the world come and hang out with us here at the Adobe Live booth. So everyone, I hope you were super inspired today. Make sure you come back tomorrow for more questions. Ask your questions, get your portfolio reviewed, and we will be here at be.net/live. So until then, have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.